The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast ocean of gleaming metal and crystal. Thousands of seats rose in perfect circles around the central speaking platform. Each seat held a different alien species, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some had 4 arms, others had scales that caught the light. A few floated in tanks of green liquid, while others stood on legs that looked like tree roots. Not at the center of it all, Ambassador Zektar of the Volani people stepped forward. His blue skin shimmered under the bright lights, and his 3 eyes focused on the datapad in his long fingers. Today was important. Today they would decide if the newest species to discover space travel could join their ancient council. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Zektar began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's speakers. We gather to discuss the species that calls itself human. They come from a small blue planet they call Earth, located in what they named the Milky Way galaxy. A low murmur ran through the crowd. Captain Lisa Martinez sat in the observer section, trying not to fidget in her dress uniform. She was the first human to ever sit in this chamber, the weight of representing her entire species pressed down. On her shoulders, like a heavy blanket, Zektar continued reading from his report. Our scouts have watched these humans for 50 of their years. What we have learned may surprise you. Despite developing weapons that could destroy their entire world, these humans show a remarkable love of peace. The ambassador's words echoed off the high ceiling. Several alien delegates leaned forward in their seats, interested. War was common in the galaxy. Most species fought constantly, either with others or among themselves. A peaceful species was rare and valuable. Please observe, Zektar said. The air above the platform shimmered, and a 3-dimensional image appeared. It showed Earth from space, blue and green and white, slowly turning. This is their home world. Notice how it remains whole and undamaged, despite their possession of nuclear weapons for nearly a century. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Many species had destroyed their home worlds within decades of splitting the atom. The fact that Earth still existed spoke well of human wisdom. The image changed to show humans in action. Soldiers in blue helmets stood between fighting groups on dusty streets. Ships carrying food and medicine sailed across Earth's oceans. People of different colors and shapes worked together to build hospitals and schools. See how they create organizations for peace. Zektar explained. They have something called the United Nations, where all their nations meet to solve problems with words instead of weapons. They sign treaties to limit their weapons. They send peacekeepers to stop wars before they grow large. Representative Taishra of the Crystal Collective raised one of her 4 arms. Her voice sounded like singing wind chimes. What of their military forces? Surely they must have armies. Zektar nodded. They do maintain armed forces, but observe their behavior. The image showed human soldiers helping earthquake victims, delivering supplies to hungry children, and building bridges in remote areas. Their militaries spend more time helping their people than fighting. This suggests a species that fears war and chooses cooperation. Captain Martinez bit her tongue. If only they knew the real reason Earth's militaries focused on humanitarian work. It wasn't fear of war that drove those choices. It was the opposite. Earth's generals understood war so well that they knew when not to use it. But she stayed silent. Her job was to observe, not to correct the council's assumptions. The debate continued for hours. Delegate after delegate stood to share their thoughts. The hive mind of Zarion spoke in thousands of voices at once, all agreeing that peaceful species made the best mediators. The gas riders of Polaris floated in their environmental suits, explaining how they had benefited from working with calm, reasonable beings. Elder Morvok of the Stone Folk, his rocky skin covered in ancient scars, spoke. Last, In my 400 years of life, I have seen too much war. The galaxy bleeds from constant conflict. Perhaps these humans, with their fear of violence and love of negotiation, can help us find better ways to solve our problems. The voting began. Each species cast their decision into the central computer. Green lights meant yes, red lights meant no. As the votes were counted, more and more green lights filled the display. The humans had impressed the council with their apparent desire for peace. Zektar smiled as he read the final results. By unanimous decision, the species known as humans is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. They will be assigned to our diplomatic corps, where their natural talents for mediation and peacekeeping can best serve the galaxy. Cheers erupted through the chamber. Thousands of different voices created a symphony of celebration. Captain Martinez stood and bowed, as was proper for new members. Inside, she felt a mixture of pride and concern. Earth had gained membership, but based on a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. The Council saw humans as naturally peaceful beings who avoided conflict out of fear or moral conviction. They had no idea that Earth's recent history of relative peace came not from weakness, but from strength. Humans had learned to be careful with war because they had become too good at it. As the session ended and the delegates began to file out, Captain Martinez gathered her things. Tomorrow, she would tour the council's facilities and meet with various department heads. She would learn about humanity's new role as galactic peacekeepers and diplomats. She only hoped that the galaxy would never discover what humans were really capable of when diplomacy failed. The council's mistake might be a blessing in disguise. Better to be underestimated than feared. The great chamber emptied slowly, its lights dimming one by one. In the growing darkness, the seeds of a galactic transformation had been planted. The council had welcomed humanity with open arms, never suspecting that they had just invited the galaxy's most dangerous predators to sit at the table of power. Time would tell whether their mistake would save the galaxy or change it forever. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Commander Alex Wright stood on the bridge of the starship New Frontier, watching the stars streak past through the main window. This was humanity's first official deep space mission, and Wright felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The New Frontier was not a warship. It was built for exploration and science, painted white and blue like the old Earth research vessels. The Council had been very clear about humanity's role. They were diplomats and peacekeepers, not warriors. Their ship carried advanced sensors and communication equipment, but only light defensive weapons. Commander, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system, called out Lieutenant Maria Santos from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. Her job was to talk to other species and translate their languages. Good work, Santos, Wright replied. He was a tall man with gray at his temples, chosen for this mission because of his calm nature and steady judgment. The Council wanted humans who would not cause trouble. Dr. Coleman, what do our sensors show? Dr. Beth Coleman looked up from her science station. She was one of Earth's best space scientists, excited to study alien star systems. The system looks empty, Commander. 7 planets, 2 asteroid belts, and a small red star. No signs of life or technology. This was exactly what they expected. The Council had given them the safest possible assignment. They were to map empty star systems far from any danger. It was busy work, really, designed to keep the new human members occupied while they learned Council ways. Dr. Ryan Parker, the mission's other scientist, was studying mineral readings from the system's asteroids. He was a quiet man who loved rocks and crystals more than people. There might be valuable minerals in the outer belt, Commander, worth noting for future mining operations. Wright nodded. The mission was going exactly as planned. Boring, safe, and far from any conflict. Just how the Council wanted it. Then everything. Change. Santos suddenly sat up straight at her station, her face going pale. Commander, I'm picking up a distress signal. It's weak, but definitely there. Put it through the speakers, Wright ordered. The bridge fell silent as a desperate voice filled the air. The words were in Galactic Standard, the common language all Council species used for official business. This is Research Station Omega-7. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Repeat, we are under attack. 17 beings on board. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate assistance. The message played again, an automatic recording that repeated every 30 seconds. Wright's mind raced. A Council research station under attack meant someone was in serious danger. Santos, can you locate the source? Wright asked. Working on it, sir. Her fingers flew over her controls. Found it. The signal is coming from the fourth planet's largest moon. It's very weak, which means their transmitter is badly damaged. Dr. Coleman checked her readings. I'm detecting energy weapons fire and multiple ships moving in that area. Commander, there's definitely a battle happening. Wright faced a terrible choice. Council protocols were very clear. Only Defense Fleet vessels were allowed to engage in combat. Exploration ships like the New Frontier were supposed to avoid all conflicts and call for help. But the nearest Council defense ship was 3 days away, according to their mission briefings. Whatever was happening at that research station would be over long before help arrived. Santos, try to contact the station directly, Wright ordered. See if you can get more information. Santos worked for several minutes before succeeding. Panicked voice came through the speakers, speaking quickly in accented Galactic Standard. Unknown vessel. This is Dr. Keshmar of Station Omega-7. Are you Council Defense Fleet? Negative, Station Omega-7, Wright replied. This is the exploration vessel New Frontier. We received your distress call. What is your situation? We are researchers studying this moon's unique crystal formations, the alien voice explained. 3 ships appeared without warning and began attacking. They demand we surrender our research data and our lives. They are not responding to any diplomatic contact. Dr. Parker looked up from his station. Commander, those crystal formations might be very valuable. Someone could be trying to steal the research. Wright studied the tactical display that Santos had put on the main screen. 3 ships were circling the moon like predators. They were smaller than the New Frontier, but appeared to be built for war. The research station's shields were failing with each attack. Dr. Keshmar, can you identify your attackers? Wright asked. We believe they are Krex Dominion vessels, came the frightened reply. They are known pirates and raiders. Commander, our shields will fail within the hour. They have made it clear they will kill everyone on the station once they take our data. Wright knew about the Krex Dominion. They were one of the galaxy's most dangerous criminal organizations. The Council had been fighting them for decades without much success. They showed no mercy and took no prisoners. Santos, contact Council Command, Wright ordered. Tell them about the situation and request immediate assistance. Santos tried for several minutes before shaking her head. No response, Commander. We're too far from the main communication relays. It would take hours for a message to reach them, and hours more for any reply. The distress call continued to repeat every 30 seconds, like a countdown to disaster. Wright looked around his bridge at his crew. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. The New Frontier was built for peaceful contact with alien species, not for fighting pirates. But 17 innocent beings were about to die, and only humans were close enough to help. Wright made his decision, knowing it would change everything. All stations, prepare for combat operations. We're going in." The crew stared at him in shock. Dr. Coleman spoke first. "Commander, the protocols clearly state that exploration vessels should not engage in combat. The protocols also state that Council members should help each other in times of need," Wright replied firmly. "Set course for the fourth moon. Santos, see if you can learn more about those Krex ships. I want to know what we're facing." As the new frontier changed course toward danger, Wright wondered if he was making the right choice. The Council expected humans to be peaceful diplomats who avoided conflict. But some things were more important than following rules. 17 lives hung in the balance, and Alex Wright refused to let them die while he could do something about it. The new frontier moved toward the fourth moon like a white ghost against the stars. On the bridge, Commander Wright studied the tactical display showing 3 Krex ships circling the research station like hungry wolves. The alien vessels were dark and angular, built for destruction rather than exploration. "Dr. Coleman, what can you tell me about those ships?" Wright asked, his voice calm despite the danger ahead. Dr. Coleman's fingers danced over her science. "Station. They're Krex Dominion attack cruisers, Commander. Each one is about half our size, but carries twice the weapons. They're designed for hit-and-run attacks on merchant vessels and research stations." The ship's alien crew members, 3 Villani scientists who had joined the mission as cultural observers, looked terrified. One of them, Dr. Veshka, spoke up in broken English. "Commander Wright, this is madness. Krex ships are built for war. We are scientists. We should retreat and call for help." Wright understood their fear. The Krex Dominion had terrorized this part of the galaxy for decades. Their ships were fast, deadly, and crewed by beings who showed no mercy. But 17 innocent researchers were about to die, and retreat meant abandoning them to their fate. "Dr. Parker, I need you to work some magic," Wright said, turning to the quiet scientist. "Can you modify any of our equipment for defensive purposes?" Parker's eyes lit up with understanding. "The mineral scanner array produces a focused particle beam. If I reroute power from the main engines, I might be able to turn it into a weapon. It won't be much, but it might help." "Do it," Wright ordered. "Santos, I need you to monitor all Krex communications. See if you can figure out their attack patterns." Santos nodded, her young face serious with concentration. She began working on her communications equipment, adjusting frequencies to intercept enemy signals. What she discovered would surprise everyone. "Commander, I'm picking up their battle chatter," Santos reported. "They're using old encryption codes. This is strange, but I think I can decode them in real time." Wright raised an eyebrow. Cracking enemy codes during battle was something only military specialists should be able to do. Santos was supposed to be a simple communications officer, but there was no time to wonder about her unexpected skills. The new frontier entered the moon's gravity well, and the Krex ships immediately noticed them. The lead vessel, larger than the others, turned toward them with obvious hostile intent. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Gregter of the Krex Dominion." A harsh voice snarled over the communications channel. "You will retreat immediately or be destroyed. This system is now under our control." Wright keyed his microphone. "Krex vessels, this is Commander Wright of the Galactic Council ship New Frontier. You are attacking a peaceful research station. Withdraw immediately." Gregter's laugh was like grinding metal. "Council ship? You are not Defense Fleet. You are just another research vessel with no weapons and no spine. Leave now or join the Xing. Dead on that station." "Commander," Dr. Coleman said quietly, "they're right about our weapons. We only have basic defensive systems. Those ships could destroy us in minutes." Wright studied the tactical display, his mind working like a chess master, planning moves ahead. Years of studying military history suddenly seemed very relevant. "Santos, What do you hear on their communications? They're coordinating attack patterns, Santos replied. The lead ship will attack us head-on, while the other two circle around to hit our engines. Standard pack hunting tactics. Wright smiled. Grimly, pack hunting tactics were something humans understood very well. Dr. Coleman, take us into the asteroid field between us and the moon. Maximum speed. Sir, that's very dangerous, Coleman protested. The asteroids could damage our hull. Not as much as those Krex weapons will, Wright replied. Do it. The New Frontier plunged into the asteroid field at dangerous speed. Chunks of rock the size of buildings drifted around them like a three-dimensional maze. The Krex ships followed, but they had to slow down to avoid collision. Now we play hide and seek, Wright muttered. Santos, can you jam their communications? Working on it, sir. Santos's hands flew over her controls. I'm not just jamming them, Commander. I'm feeding false information into their communication network, making them think we're in different positions than we really are. Dr. Veshka stared at her in amazement. How do you know how to do that? You are supposed to be a language specialist. Santos grinned without looking away from her work. Humans learn lots of different skills in school. The first Krex ship came hunting through the asteroids, following false sensor readings that Santos had planted in their systems. It passed within 50 meters of a large asteroid, not knowing that the New Frontier was hiding on the other side. Dr. Parker, is your particle beam ready? Wright asked. Yes, sir, but we'll only get one shot before they locate us. Make it count, Wright ordered. Fire. The modified mineral scanner sent a focused beam of energy into the Krex ship's engine. Section. The alien vessel shuddered and began spinning out of control, crashing into a nearby asteroid in a ball of flame. One down, Wright said calmly. 2 to go. The remaining Krex ships realized they were fighting someone more dangerous than expected. They tried to coordinate their search, but Santos kept feeding them false information. She made them think. The New Frontier was in 3 different places at once. Wright used the confusion to his advantage. He piloted the ship through the asteroids like he had been born in space, using the rocks as cover and weapons. When the second Krex ship came, too close to a large asteroid, Wright fired the ship's mining charges into the rock. The explosion sent chunks of stone crashing into the enemy vessel, crippling its weapons. The third ship tried to flee, but Dr. Parker had another surprise ready. He had modified the ship's tractor beam, the device used to collect rock samples. Instead of pulling asteroids toward them, he pushed a huge chunk of rock into the fleeing ship's path. The Krex vessel couldn't turn fast enough and slammed into the asteroid at full speed in less than 30 minutes. 3 Krex attack cruisers had been destroyed by a single exploration vessel. The research station was safe, and 17 alien. Scientists were alive because humans had ignored the rules. This is Dr. Keshmar from Research Station Omega 7, came a grateful voice over the communications channel. Commander Wright, we owe you our lives. How did you defeat the Krex so easily? Our records show they have never been beaten by a single ship. Wright looked around his bridge at his crew. Santos was smiling proudly at her communications console. Dr. Parker was already returning the ship's equipment to normal functions. Dr. Coleman was calculating their route home. Just lucky, I guess, Wright replied. But he knew it wasn't luck. It was something much more dangerous than the galaxy had ever suspected. It was humans being human. The news of this battle would spread quickly through council space. And when it did, everything would change. News traveled fast through the galaxy. Within 3 days, every species in council space had heard about the battle at Kepler 442. A single human exploration ship had destroyed 3 Krex Dominion warships and saved a research station. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. Humans had fought, and humans had won. Ambassador Zektar of the Velani paced back and forth in his office, his blue skin darker than usual with stress, the data pad in his hands contained the official report from Commander Wright, along with sensor recordings from the research station. Every time he read it, the report seemed more impossible. The door chimed, and Captain Lisa Martinez entered the office. She wore her dress uniform again, but this time she looked different. Her shoulders were straighter, her eyes more confident. The weight of pretending to be something she was not had been lifted from her. "Ambassador Zektar," Martinez said with a polite nod, "you requested to see me." "Captain Martinez," Zektar replied, his three eyes focused on her with obvious concern. "We need to discuss the incident at Kepler 442. The Council is very upset about what happened." Martinez sat down in the chair across from his desk. "I understand their concern. Commander Wright's actions saved 17 lives. That is not the issue," Zektar said firmly. "The issue is that your people violated Council protocols. Exploration vessels are not supposed to engage in combat. We assigned humans to diplomatic roles because you fear war and prefer peaceful solutions. This attack on the Krek ships suggests we may have misjudged your species." Martinez looked at him calmly. "Ambassador, I think it's time we had an honest conversation about humanity." Before Zektar could reply, the office door opened again. Dr. Susan Hayes walked in, carrying a large data case. She was Earth's chief expert on alien cultures and psychology, a woman who had studied every species in the galaxy. Her job was to help humans understand their new alien neighbors. "Dr. Hayes," Martinez said, standing up, "thank you for coming." "Ambassador Zektar, I asked Dr. Hayes to join us because I think you need to understand some things about Earth's history." Zektar gestured for both humans to sit down. "Very well. I am listening. But I hope you plan to apologize for this aggressive behavior and promise it will not happen again." Martinez and Dr. Hayes exchanged a look. Then Martinez leaned forward in her chair. "Ambassador, we will not be apologizing. And I need to correct a serious misunderstanding about human nature." She activated a small device, and holographic images filled the air above Zektar's desk. The first image showed Earth from space, peaceful and blue. Then the image changed to show the same planet covered in smoke and fire. "This is Earth during what we call World War II," Martinez explained. 60 million humans died in 6 years of fighting. Nearly every nation on our planet was involved. Zektar stared at the images in shock. They showed massive armies moving across continents, cities burning, and weapons that could level entire towns. "But this contradicts everything our scouts reported. You told us humans fear war." Dr. Hayes spoke for the first time, her voice soft but serious. "Ambassador, humans do not fear war. We are extremely good at war. So good that we learned to fear ourselves." The images changed again, showing more of Earth's military history. Ancient armies with swords and shields, sailing ships firing cannons, and jets screaming across the sky. Every image showed humans fighting with skill and determination. "We evolved as hunters," Dr. Hayes continued. "For millions of years we chased prey across vast distances. We learned to work together, to plan ahead, and to never give up. We became the best predators our planet ever produced." Martinez took over the explanation. "When you observed Earth's recent history, you saw humans trying to avoid large wars. You thought this meant we were peaceful. You were wrong. We avoid war because we understand what we are capable when we stop holding back." The holographic display showed more recent events. Human soldiers wearing blue helmets, standing between fighting groups. Supply ships carrying food and medicine to disaster areas. Peace negotiations in elegant conference rooms. "You called these humanitarian efforts," Martinez said. But look more closely. Those peacekeeping operations require the same skills as military campaigns. Moving thousands of soldiers, coordinating supply lines, gathering intelligence about local threats. The only difference is the goal. Zektar was beginning to understand, and it frightened him. You mean your peace negotiations were actually strategic assessments, Dr. Hayes finished. Every time humans sit down to negotiate, we are studying our opponents, learning their weaknesses, understanding their goals, planning for multiple outcomes. We call it diplomacy. Our generals call it intelligence gathering. The ambassador's hands shook as he reached for his datapad. But your international organizations, your cooperation between nations, command and control structures, Martinez said simply. Humans learned long ago that the side with better communication and coordination usually wins. Our United Nations is not just a peace organization. It is proof that humans can coordinate complex operations across the entire planet. Dr. Hayes stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Ambassador, every human child learns about war in school. We study famous battles, great generals, and military strategies. We tell ourselves it is to remember history and avoid repeating it. But the truth is simpler. War is part of who we are. Zektar looked at the datapad containing Commander Wright's report. Suddenly, the battle at Kepler 442 made perfect sense. The tactical brilliance, the improvised weapons, the coordinated teamwork. These were not the actions of peaceful scientists forced into combat. They were the actions of a species that understood war in ways the galaxy had never seen. The Krex. Dominion has been a threat to Council space for over 200 years, Martinez said quietly. Your defense fleet has fought them dozens of times without decisive victory. Commander Wright destroyed 3 of their ships in 30 minutes using a research vessel. How? Zektar whispered. Dr. Hayes turned back from the window. Because Commander Wright spent his childhood studying military history. Because Lieutenant Santos learned electronic warfare in university as part of her communications degree. Because Dr. Parker understood that any technology can become a weapon if you think about it correctly. Martinez stood up and walked to Zektar's desk. Ambassador, the Council made an assumption about humanity based on incomplete information. You saw that we had stopped fighting large wars and concluded that we feared conflict. You are half right. We do fear conflict, but not for the reasons you think. She leaned forward, her eyes serious. We fear conflict because when humans stop pretending to be civilized, we become the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever seen. We learn to control that part of ourselves because the alternative was destroying our own world. Zektar sat in silence for a long moment, processing everything he had learned. The peaceful diplomatic species the Council had welcomed was actually a collection of apex predators who had learned to work together. Their restraint was not weakness, but wisdom. What happens now? He asked finally. Martinez smiled, but it was not a comforting expression. Now you need to decide whether you want humans as allies or enemies. Because after what happened at Kepler 442, the whole galaxy is going to learn what we really are. Outside the window, the stars looked different somehow. Less peaceful, more dangerous. The galaxy had just discovered that its newest members were not the gentle diplomats they had pretended to be. They were something much more frightening and much more valuable. The balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift forever. The war began 3 weeks after the Kepler 442 incident. The Krex Dominion, embarrassed by their defeat at human hands, decided to end the Galactic Council once and for all. They had spent 2 centuries building their strength, and now they struck with everything they had. The first attacks came without warning. Krex fleets appeared in 3 different sectors simultaneously, hitting major Council worlds with devastating Force. Their ships moved like dark clouds across the stars, destroying everything in their path. On the Council's central command world, alarms screamed through the Defense Fleet headquarters. Admiral Theric of the Stonefolk stood before a massive tactical display, watching red enemy symbols advance deeper into Council space. Each symbol represented hundreds of ships and millions of lives at risk. "Report," Admiral Theric commanded, his rocky voice echoing through the command center. "Krex forces have taken the Vega colonies," reported a Velani officer. "The Centauri defense line has fallen. Our third fleet was destroyed at Proxima Station." The numbers were staggering. In just 2 weeks, the Krex had captured 27 star systems and destroyed half the Council's defense fleet. Their tactics were unlike anything seen before. They struck fast, hit hard, and showed no mercy to civilians or military targets. "Sir," another officer called out, "we're receiving evacuation requests from 47 worlds. The Krex are advancing faster than we can respond." Admiral Theric studied the tactical display with growing despair. The Council had fought the Krex for 200 years, but never like this. This was not raiding or piracy. This was total war, and the Council was losing badly. The massive display screen flickered and changed, showing the face of Warlord Grakenosh, Supreme Commander of the Krex Dominion. His scarred features and glowing red eyes had haunted Council nightmares for decades. "People of the Council," Grakenosh snarled, "your time of weakness is over. We have endured your pathetic attempts at diplomacy long enough. Surrender now, and some of you may live as our slaves. Continue to resist, and we will burn every world you hold dear." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Admiral Theric looked around at his officers, seeing fear and desperation in their faces. The greatest military force in galactic history was being crushed by the very enemy it had failed to defeat for centuries. "Sir," a young Velani officer said quietly, "perhaps we should consider their offer of surrender." "Never," Admiral Theric replied firmly. But privately, he wondered if they had any choice. The Council's traditional tactics of massive ship formations and defensive positions were useless against Krex speed and brutality. That was when Captain Martinez entered the command center, flanked by several humans in military uniforms. Admiral Theric had never seen these particular humans before, and something about them was different from the diplomatic types he was used to. "Admiral Theric," Martinez said, "I bring an offer from Earth's government. We would like to help with your Krex problem." The stone admiral looked at her with barely concealed frustration. "Captain Martinez, with all respect, this is not a job for exploration vessels and diplomats. This is total war against the galaxy's most dangerous enemy." Behind Martinez, one of the humans stepped forward. He was a big man with cold eyes and scars on his hands. His uniform was different from the others, marked with symbols that meant nothing to the alien officers. "Admiral," the human said, "my name is Admiral Bob Clark of the Earth Defense Force. I think there has been a misunderstanding about human capabilities." Admiral Theric frowned. "Earth Defense Force? Our records show that humans were assigned to the diplomatic corps. You have no military designation in our files." Admiral Clark smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "That's because we didn't tell you about our military. Captain Martinez and Commander Wright were our diplomats. I'm what happens when diplomacy fails." The tactical display suddenly changed, showing new ship formations appearing at the edge of known space. These vessels looked nothing like Council ships or even the Krex fleet. They were smaller, sleeker, and moved in patterns that seemed almost alive. "The first human battle fleet is now in position," Admiral Clark announced. "We've been watching the Krex offensive with great interest. Their tactics are impressive but predictable." Admiral Theric stared at the display in amazement. "How many ships do you have?" Enough, Clark replied. But Admiral, we don't fight the way you or the Kreks fight. We're going to need complete control of Council forces if this is going to work. The Stone Admiral's pride warred with desperate necessity. The Council was losing badly, and these humans were offering help. But giving military command to a species they barely understood was almost unthinkable. What do you propose? Admiral, Derek asked finally. Admiral Clark pointed to the tactical display, where Kreks forces were advancing toward the Council's core worlds. We hit them where they don't expect it. Not their fleets, but their supply lines, their communication networks, their command structure. We make them fight our kind of war instead of theirs. Over the next 6 months, the galaxy learned what human warfare really looked like. Colonel Amy Davis led special forces teams that struck deep behind Kreks lines, destroying supply depots and capturing intelligence. Commander Mike Brown coordinated space battles that turned entire star systems into three-dimensional chess games. The humans didn't fight the way anyone expected. They used small ships that attacked from unexpected directions. They planted false information that made Kreks commanders doubt their own intelligence. They turned the enemy's strength against them at every opportunity. Most shocking of all, they seemed to think several moves ahead at all times. When Kreks forces tried to trap human ships, they found their enemies had already escaped and were attacking somewhere else entirely. When they attempted to reinforce failing positions, they discovered their reinforcements were needed even more urgently elsewhere. The war that the Kreks expected to win in months dragged on, as they found themselves constantly reacting to human initiatives. Their massive fleets, designed to overwhelm fixed defenses, proved clumsy against opponents who refused to stay in one place long enough to be targeted. The end came suddenly. Warlord Great Ganache woke up one morning to find human marines in his personal quarters, having infiltrated his supposedly impregnable command ship while he slept. The war was overdought in the council chambers. Ambassador Zeke Tar stood before the assembled delegates, reading the final report on the Kreks conflict. The Kreks Dominion has surrendered unconditionally. Their military forces have been disbanded, and their leaders are in custody. The chamber erupted in cheers, but Zektar raised his hand for silence. The victory belongs to our human allies, whose military expertise proved superior to an enemy we could not defeat in 2 centuries. Captain Martinez stood up in the observer section, but this time she wore the uniform of a full admiral. The Council had learned to give humans the respect their capabilities deserved. Council members, Martinez said, Earth accepts your offer to lead the Galactic Defense Forces. We hope this partnership will bring lasting peace to all species. Elder Morvek of the Stone Folk, ancient and scarred from many battles, spoke last. In 400 years of life, I have seen much war. Today I learned that the galaxy's greatest warriors were sitting among us all along, disguised as diplomats and scientists. As the session ended, the delegates filed out with a new understanding of the balance of power in the galaxy. The humans had not conquered through force or claimed territory through victory. They had simply revealed what they were capable of. When the need arose, the Galactic Council's most dangerous mistake had been corrected. They had assumed that humans feared war, when the truth was far more complex. Humans had learned to control war, to use it precisely when needed, and to end it quickly when the job was done. The galaxy was safer now, protected by beings who understood conflict so well that they preferred peace. And everyone hoped they would never again need to see what humans could do when that peace was threatened.